Hi, year 7. For this question, we read that Thomas and Nathan had a donut eating race to see who could eat the most donuts in 1 minute. Before the race started, Thomas cut each of his donuts into fifths to make them just the right bite size. Nathan decided to cut each of his donuts into quarters before the race. After 1 minute of frenzied eating, the stop whistle blew. Thomas had devoured 28 fifths of donut, and Nathan had munched his way through 22 quarters of donut. Then part A wants us to know who won the donut eating race, so that's what we need to work out. And then part B asks us to work out what was the winning donut margin, and we need to express our answer in simplest form. So before we jump in, I've drawn a diagram here to show the two different donuts. So on the left we've got Thomas, and he's broken up his donut into 5 parts, each part representing 1/5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, and those 5/5 make up the whole. And then for Nathan, he broke up his donut into 4 parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and each of those 4 quarters make up the whole donut for Nathan. And we're told that Thomas devoured 28 of these parts, of these fifths, and Nathan ate 22 of his quarters. And notice that the quarters are bigger than the fifths, so we can't just compare 28 and 22 because we're not comparing the same size, the same amount of each donut. We have to convert them into fractions and then get a common denominator to make those fractions comparable. So that's what we'll do for part A. So to work out who won the donut eating race, we basically need to know who ate the most donuts. So let's start with Thomas. So we know that Thomas ate, and we're told the number of fifths was 28. So 28 times 1/5. That's how many donuts Thomas ate. Now, if you remember how we deal with multiplying fractions, first we can know that a whole number is the same as a fraction where the denominator just happens to be 1. And then when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply the numerators and then we multiply the denominators. So we'll get 28 times 1 in the numerator, and then 1 times 5 in the denominator. And 28 times 1 is simply 28, and 1 times 5 is simply 5. So Thomas ate 28/5 donuts. Now Nathan, we're told, he ate, I believe, 22. Oops, let me just fix that. Nathan ate, and I'll just double check, yes, 22 quarters. So we had 22 times 1/4. And again, the 22, that whole number is the same as 22/1. And then we just multiply the numerators, 22 times 1. And then we multiply the denominators, 1 times 4. 22 times 1 is simply 22. 1 times 4 is simply 1. And here we have two fractions, 28/5 and 22/4. And we want to compare these, but it's quite hard to do when our denominators are different. So if we have one fraction that has a denominator of 5 and another that has a denominator of 4, it becomes quite hard to compare which of those is bigger. However, if we had two fractions where the denominators were the same, then it becomes easy to compare because we simply compare the numerators. So what we can do is we can get a common denominator by first working out what is the lowest common multiple of 5 and 4. And if we look at the multiples of 5, we'd get 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on. If we looked at the multiples of 4, we get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and I can stop there because we found the common multiple. The first common multiple we get is 20, so that's the lowest common multiple. So now what we can do is we can take each of Thomas and Nathan's fractions and make them have a denominator of 20. So for Thomas, we can say Thomas ate, And we can take the 28 over 5 and we can multiply it by, and here we have to ask ourselves, well, 5 times what gets us 20? Because we want to multiply by a fraction, and 5 times 4 gets us 20 because it's 20 is the fourth multiple, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 times 4 gets us 20. So if we're going to multiply the denominator by 4, we also have to multiply the numerator by 4 to make sure we haven't actually changed the value. So here we just need to say, well, we know that the denominator is 20, that's what we're looking for. But what is 28 times 4? And maybe just over to the side, if we want to try and do this without a calculator, it might be simpler to break up 4 into 2 times 2, because we can say that 28 times 2 would be 56, and then 56 times 2 would be 112. So we can know that 28 times 4 is 112. So that's a handy way to do that multiplication without needing to get out our calculator. For Nathan, we can say Nathan 8. And again, we take the 22 over 4. And we want to multiply that by a fraction. This time we want to multiply the 4 by 5 because 20 is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th multiple of 4. So 4 times 5 is 20. And that means we need to multiply the 22 by 5. Now in this case, we know our denominator is 20, but our numerator, maybe an easy way to do that would be to say 22 is 11 times 2. So 11 times 5 is 55, and then that times 2 is 110. So we know that the numerator here would be 110, so we don't really need to get our calculator out there. But now that we have these common denominators of 20, it becomes very clear who ate the most, because Thomas has the higher numerator, therefore Thomas ate the most donuts. So that's how we do part A, that's how we work out who ate the most. Now coming back up to part B, it wanted us to work out the winning donut margin and to express our answer in simplest form. So here, the winning donut margin, so part B, the winning margin would be equal to the difference between what Thomas ate and what Nathan ate. So Thomas ate 112 over 20, and Nathan ate 110 over 20. And because we have a common denominator, we can bring the subtraction together in the numerator. So we can say 112 over 20 minus 110 over 20 is the same as 112 minus 110 all over 20. And 112 minus 110 is 2. So our answer becomes 2 over 20. But because we need to express our answer in simplest form, we need to ask ourselves, is there a number that goes into both 2 and 20, a whole number? Or in other words, what is the highest common factor? And for 2 and 20, the highest common factor, well, the factors of 2 are 1 and 2. The factors of 20 would be 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. And if we want to know the common factors, well, they are 1 and 2, but the highest of those is 2. So we say the highest common factor is 2. So I'm going to take that fraction and divide both the top and the bottom, the numerator and denominator, by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is simply 1, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So that's how we get our fraction in simplest form, being 1 over 10 donuts. So that was the winning margin. Panic boom! Alright, there you have it. Hopefully you found that explanation helpful. Tick boom.